I had a viewer this week that asked a really good question, so I want to answer that question. The question is how do I set my pads so that in the wintertime, when the frost is in the ground, keeping them from heaving? Well, like I said, this place is a mile back in the woods. When I built timber frame cabins, ideal setup was to haul in 2 feet of gravel. Anything from 16 inches to 2 feet of gravel, 24 inches of gravel. And when I could get a customer to haul in a couple of feet of gravel and we could set all of our pads on that 2 feet of gravel, those cabins set still. Summer, winter, it did not matter. In this situation, I'm a mile back in the woods. There is no gravel pad. When I take you over and show you the site, you're going to say, what in the heck did you pick that site for the cabin? Well, it's simple. I can see that way from this. I'm sitting on a log next to the campfire. I can see that way 100 yards. And I can see that way 75 yards. And in the wintertime, deer season, I'll be able to see directly behind the cabin for at least 100 yards. Also that way, off to my right here. So this was the most cleared out area on this piece of property that I could see in all 4 directions from my cabin. Once the animals get used to it, between me and that grass out there, they're gonna come right down through. Not a doubt in my mind. So if you're sitting at the cabin, I want to have that opportunity to see that animal, whether it's a bear or whether it's a deer. So be just like my other cabin up in Northern Maine. I'm having lemonade. If you want to have some lemonade or coffee, sit down and join me. Now, getting back to what I was talking about, them pads. I lost track there for a minute. Here, I don't have a gravel pad. The only gravel that's in here is the gravel I've trucked in for this fire pit so far. But how I'm building the cabin, and you'll see today as we go along, how I'm building the cabin, it's going to float around. And the frost is going to move it. The trick that you want is when you put in pads or if you put in post, it's either everything goes on top of the ground or everything goes 4 feet down in the ground. I'm going everything on top of the ground. I'm going with all the pads on top, and I'm just not going to worry about it. And what's going to happen is the building will rise up. But then in the springtime, it'll settle back down. Now some years it might not. There might be a rock or something that'll kick up and will keep it from settling back down. And in that case, you're going to want to jack your building or adjust it, whatever. So how I'm building this building, I'm putting in 2 sills down both sides of it. 6 by 6 by 12 foot sills. So those will last the life of the cabin. I've seen 100-year-old hemlock sills. The only thing you got to do is keep them off the ground. Keep a roof on the cabin and keep the cabin off the ground, and them sills will last 100 years comfortably. So that's not an issue. I very rarely build with pressure treated. And if you saw all the pressure treated that I pulled out from under buildings over the 35 years of working buildings, you probably wouldn't use too much of that crap either. But anyway, another side note. The cabin is built so that I can jack and level it easily. I'm going to put in 2 additional pads that are just for jacking on both ends in the center. I'll be able to put a Jeep jack under there, jack it up that way, or I'll be able to slip in a hydraulic jack and jack it up that way. Everything will be nailed to the building. All the posts, the sills, the floor joists, everything will be anchored together so that when I jack the building to level it, everything will come up and then I can slip some shims under it and level it that way. That's the easiest way I know. So we're talking, even if you had to do it every spring, 10, 15-minute job at the most, but I doubt that'll be the case. Usually a building, when I was doing it professionally, we tried to jack buildings every 3 to 5 years as far as just going in and tweaking them. If you go in and tweak them every couple of years, every 3 to 5 years, then it's not a big job at all. If you wait until the thing is falling down and sitting on the ground, then it's a huge job. So I always tried to get the customers to do 3 to 5 years at the most. The 5-year end would be the high end. And then it wasn't a big job. It didn't cost a whole lot of money, and it just wasn't a big job. So that's what I'm going to do here. There will be a jack here 24/7. I'm going to leave one right in the cabin along with everything that's needed to jack, so that if I see that it's out of whack, an afternoon project, jack it up, level it up, and be done with it. So I hope that was a long way around answering your question, and it was a very good question. I was really pleased to see that question in the comments. So, but let's have a tour of what's going on, and then I'm going to get building. One more sip of lemonade, and we'll be on our way.